Have you ever wondered why some of the greatest technological innovations in history were created by people who seemed not to fit into traditional social norms? Why do companies like Microsoft, Google, and Apple have specific programs to hire autistic people? And why, even with all this recognized potential, is it still so challenging for an autistic person not only to get a job, but to truly thrive and grow in the corporate environment? If you're autistic and have felt like you're constantly translating a language that isn't your own at work, or if you know someone going through this video may completely change your perspective on career and autism. But let me tell you the story of Sarah, a data analyst who spent 5 years of her career feeling like an imposter. She was brilliant at her job, able to identify patterns others didn't see, with an impressive accuracy in her reports and a focus her colleagues envied. But there was something that tormented her every single day. Meetings. Not only formal presentations, which were challenging enough, but those informal conversations before meetings began. The coffee breaks, where everyone seemed to know exactly what to say. The happy hours after work, where she felt completely lost. Sarah developed what she called her corporate mode, a performative version of herself that smiled at the right moment, made small talk about the weather or the weekend, and pretended to understand jokes that made no sense to her. What Sarah didn't know at the time was that she wasn't simply dealing with shyness or introversion. She was spending an enormous amount of mental energy every single day, masking traits that were natural to her autistic brain. And the most interesting part is that, without realizing it, she was extremely valuable to her company precisely because of those traits she tried to hide. Her ability to see unique patterns, her obsessive attention to detail, her need for precision, and her natural resistance to accepting information without questioning were exactly what made her work exceptional. But the constant masking was taking a heavy toll. She came home exhausted, not only physically but emotionally drained, as if she had spent the entire day acting in a play where she didn't fully know the script. Sarah's story changed radically when she was diagnosed with autism. At the age of 32, it wasn't just a personal revelation, it was a professional revolution. She began to understand that her differences weren't flaws to be fixed, but traits to be optimized. And more importantly, she discovered that there were specific science-backed ways to navigate the corporate world as an autistic professional that didn't involve becoming a completely different person. The neuroscience behind autism in the workplace is fascinating and completely different from what most people imagine. The autistic brain is not a broken or defective brain, it's a brain that processes information differently. And this difference can be an incredible competitive advantage when properly understood and directed. Recent studies from the University of Cambridge show that autistic people have different neural connectivity, especially in areas related to detail processing and pattern recognition. What does that mean in practice? It means that while a neurotypical brain may process information more broadly, focusing on social context and subtle nuances, the autistic brain tends to process information more systematically and in greater detail, identifying inconsistencies and patterns that others may not notice. This neural difference explains why autistic people often excel in fields like data analysis, programming, scientific research, quality control, financial auditing, and other professions that require precision, detail orientation, and systematic thinking. But it also explains why things like networking, informal communication, reading social subtext, and navigating corporate politics can be extremely challenging. Interestingly, the modern corporate environment is evolving in ways that increasingly favor the natural strengths of the autistic brain. The digital economy, remote work, the growing value of data and analysis, and the need for innovation and out-of-the-box thinking are all creating unique opportunities for autistic professionals. But here's the problem. Most autistic people don't know how to strategically showcase their strengths in the corporate environment, and most companies still don't fully understand how to create workplaces that allow autistic professionals to reach their full potential. It's like having a Ferrari and trying to use it to plow a field. It will work, but you're not using even a fraction of the machine's potential. That's why we need to talk about practical, specific strategies to transform autistic traits into competitive advantages in the corporate world. The first strategy is what I call strategic translated communication. This doesn't mean masking who you are. It means learning to translate your unique ideas and insights into a language your colleagues and leaders can understand and value. For example, if you notice a serious issue in the company, instead of simply pointing out what's wrong, which could be taken as harsh criticism, you can frame it as an opportunity for improvement, supported by data and practical solutions. The second strategy is corporate environment mapping. This involves systematically studying your company's culture, identifying communication patterns, decision-making processes, and informal social dynamics. Not to become a different person, but to understand the rules of the game and play according to your strengths. It's like learning the grammar of a foreign language. You communicate much better once you understand the structure behind the interactions. The third strategy is expertise-based authority building. Autistic people often become true specialists in their areas of interest, developing a depth of knowledge that's hard to match. Instead of trying to compete in corporate politics or traditional charisma, you can build your reputation and influence by being recognized as the person with the most precise answers, the most detailed analyses, or the most innovative solutions to complex problems. The fourth strategy is value-based networking. Many autistic people find traditional networking artificial and uncomfortable, but there is a different approach that feels more natural. Building connections around genuine interests and knowledge exchange. This can include joining technical discussion groups, contributing to cross-departmental projects, or mentoring new employees in your area of expertise. The fifth strategy is work environment negotiation. Many companies are willing to make reasonable adjustments to help valuable employees work more efficiently. This could mean having a quieter workspace, flexibility for occasional remote work, written communication instead of phone calls when possible, or structured meeting agendas in advance. The key is to frame these requests as investments in your productivity, not as special accommodations. From chaotic brainstorming sessions to corporate politics, feedback, public speaking, and disclosure of diagnosis, the path is full of challenges, but also full of opportunities when you approach them with strategy. And here's something powerful. Constant masking isn't sustainable, and it actually limits long-term professional success. Studies show that autistic professionals who mask all the time face higher rates of burnout, anxiety, depression, and job turnover. More importantly, they often never reach their full potential because they spend too much energy pretending to be someone they're not, instead of optimizing who they really are. Authenticity, when used strategically, is not a liability, it's a strength. And when combined with the evolving needs of the modern workplace, it can become the foundation of your success. So now I want to hear from you. In the comments, share. What's the biggest challenge you've faced as an autistic professional in the workplace? Or, if you're not in the job market yet, what's your biggest concern about how your neurodiversity will impact your career? And if you've had success, share a specific strategy that worked for you. Let's build a community where we can learn from each other and support one another in creating careers that truly reflect our unique potential. If this content resonated with you, if you saw yourself in Sarah's story, or if you learned something that will change how you approach your career, leave a like so more autistic people can find this information, and subscribe to the channel because we're going to keep diving into these topics, practical strategies, science-based insights, and real-world experiences that can transform the way you think about neurodiversity and professional success. Remember, you don't have to choose between being authentically autistic and being professionally successful. In fact, your greatest professional success will probably come from being more authentically yourself, not less. Your autistic brain is not a limitation, it's your secret weapon. Now go out there and show the professional world exactly what you're capable of.